Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Rant About, and today I want to rant about a topic, and it's just kind of timely. This is a video I've wanted to do for a while about a specific topic that I've wanted to rant about for a while, and that is video game journalism ethics, but more importantly, the ethics of the review process for video games in particular, which has been scrutinized over the years. And it was timely because I've wanted to do this video for a while, and a major situation broke out concerning a specific website over the past 24 hours, so I thought we would dive into that as a primary example and also use some past examples in this video. And I definitely have some pretty strong opinions about everything. First and foremost, I want to state that as far as review processes go, for myself, doing reviews on this channel and just in general, I've always felt like the person that is given the product that they are given should review it as honest as they can. They shouldn't let any outside opinion or company or anything determine the review score that they give. Review scores are arbitrary, and honestly, I have a lot of issues with websites like Kotaku for certain reasons, but one thing that Kotaku gets right is they just don't answer to the idea of review scores. They got rid of review scores a long time ago, and then they used to do like a good, bad, or whatever buy. I forget exactly what they did, but they did something. They even got rid of that. Now you just have to read the review. And I understand a lot of people, and I'm subject to this as well, a lot of times, especially, I use the IGN app on my phone very frequently, probably at least 5 or 6 times a day, and I'm very prone to just scrolling to the bottom of a review just to see what score something got. So we're all prone to this. We're all prone to the idea of a review score is what makes a review, and that's not necessarily always true. A lot of times you need to sit down and read the entire review before you get to it to figure out why this person gave this game this review score. So let's dive into the big issue at hand. So a website that I'm not familiar with until this whole thing broke, called the6axis.com, published a review of the popular basketball franchise and their latest entry, NBA 2K18, this past couple days ago. And they gave this game a 3 out of 10 as a review score, which is insanely low. And yes, at first glance, you might look at this and go, oh, this is a website I've never heard of, and they're giving this a low review score to garnish traffic to their website. That happens sometimes, I understand it. But no, if you actually read this review, they go into great detail explaining why they gave the game a 3 out of 10, and it all has to do with the microtransactions of this game. And honestly, I'm going to state first and foremost, I don't play sports games. I've never really cared for sports games. I play a hockey game once every about 5 years, and I kind of get my fill on the whole sports genre, and I move on. I'm not a fan of them. I feel like they're games that are good, and if you're a big fan of sports, you're going to love it every year, but I don't think that those games change enough between each iteration. I've been kind of a big supporter of the idea of putting out one football game and just releasing a digital update every year for that same football game or basketball game or whatever sport you're into, rather than buying a new $60 product each year. But I understand, they're in the business of making money, they're never going to do that. With that stipulation aside, NBA 2K18 has had a big issue with microtransactions, and this year's version of the game is completely broken when it comes to it. You have to spend real money in this game to get anywhere in the My Career Story, or pretty much anywhere you want to get in the entire game. Now, yes, you could probably just buy the game, pop it in, and play, a normal exhibition match, and that's fine, but a lot of people that buy these games want to play the story mode, the career mode. That's the big idea behind it. When this came out, and this information, especially with this year, it makes me even more intrigued to play this year's installment of WWE and see if that 2K version this year has these similar issues, because they're made by the same publisher. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But that being aside, it's a broken mess. Obviously, I have to give credit where credit's due. This guy was incredibly honest. This guy has reviewed this franchise every year, every iteration, and he has seen a steady incline of the amount of microtransactions in the game. So I understand why he gave it a 3 out of 10. It makes perfect sense to me, and honestly, if that was that guy's review score, these websites, a lot of times, as someone who has freelanced before, I understand how it is. You sometimes have to fight back with the website you're writing for on what a review score is. And sometimes it definitely comes into light that there's a situation where, and this is where we're going to get into the thick of it, sometimes there are websites that have run promotional ads for games, and then when it comes time for that game to be reviewed and it gets a lower than expected review score and the company's not happy with it, somebody's going to get in trouble, and that's not good for anyone. You know, the most obvious and most public of all of this was the controversy surrounding Jeff Gerstmann when he worked at GameSpot 10 years ago, and he gave Kane Lynch a bad review score. I believe he gave it a 6 out of 10. And GameSpot had been heavily promoting this game for an entire month. That was where all their ads were. And there was a huge controversy. Honestly, the entire story is still not out there, and I don't think we'll ever know the entire story. But, you know, it's today you look at it, there's no bad blood between Jeff Gerstmann and GameSpot. I mean, Giant Bomb, the company that he works for and founded now, is literally in the same damn CBS building as GameSpot. So it makes a lot of sense that there's no bad blood anymore. But at the time, he literally was fired because he gave this game a lower review score, and that publisher got pissed about it. So I understand and it makes sense, but at the same time, the ugly truth of this whole situation came out, in which 2K basically contacted this website asking them to change the review score from a 3 to 10 to a review in progress so they could have a discussion about the microtransaction problems in the game. This part of this is ridiculous to me, and I hate the idea that on one side of it, and you have to understand this, people's jobs are on the line. People that work in the industry, their jobs are on the line. And I'm not just talking about the critics that review these games, I'm talking about the teams and the people on these teams that develop and make these games. Their jobs are sometimes on the line, because if they're not getting a certain Metacritic score rating and their game is considered lower, then those people get cut from their jobs because they're seen as doing bad work. And that's a bad thing for everybody. So I understand why some websites like Kotaku don't want to do review scores anymore, and it makes perfect sense. But what's ridiculous to me, and this is where I think things get a little hazy, is that this publisher company, 2K, is reaching out to this website. This isn't even a big website, and like I said, honestly, up until today or last night, I didn't even know about the 6axis.com. I never heard of this website, and I consider myself pretty in the know when it comes to video game websites. But, you know, everybody always has their favorites on what they go to. Regardless, I think 2K here is overstepping their boundaries by asking a company to take down the review score of a game if that's what that person feels that the game deserves. It is ridiculous and outrageous, and it shouldn't happen. And that goes way beyond what should be allowed in these situations, and it's ridiculous. Like, this isn't a thing that should happen. You know, reviewers, they have to have their own opinions. It's an opinion. That's what these people are paid to do. They're paid to play a game and write their opinion on it and give it a score at the end of the day. And this whole thing is ridiculous. So we're going to read exactly what happened. They put out a statement, this website. I'm going to read bits and pieces of it here because I think some of it is definitely interesting and should be noted. And this comes directly from this website. Yesterday afternoon, we found ourselves embroiled in a minor controversy surrounding one of our reviews, so I decided to adjust our NBA 2K18 review after it had been posted and temporarily remove the score, pending a statement from 2K about our complaints. In our review, Aaron, that was the reviewer, raised the issue of the rate at which you earn the game's virtual currency from play, how pervasive VC is throughout the game, and how it pushes you towards the microtransactions in a manner that seriously impacts the game. Sadly, 2K has not been able to issue us a statement in timely fashion, so we have now returned the 3 out of 10 score to the bottom of our review, 24 hours after the review was originally posted. So in retrospect, did I make a mistake in altering our published review? Possibly. Were there good reasons to change the review? Definitely. Most importantly, was this from undue publisher pressure? No. Here's where I have a problem with this. Number one, and this is very important to put out, he clearly says, did I make a mistake in altering our published review? Possibly. No, you most certainly made a mistake. Secondly, were there good reasons to change this review? Definitely. No, there weren't good reasons to change this review. Finally, was this from undue publisher pressure? No. It most certainly was, and that's the problem I have with this whole thing. Basically what it boils down to is 2K bullied this company into taking their review score down because they didn't want to have this lower their aggregate score on Metacritic or on OpenCritic. And because of this, they feel like this 6axis website feels like it was a good idea to take the score down for 24 hours while they waited for 2K to give them an idea. It's never okay to take down this score unless you feel that the reviewer didn't do a good job reviewing the game. This guy obviously did a good job reviewing the game. He's reviewed 2K since 2013, so he knows what he's talking about. And he's talking about the disgusting amount of microtransactions in this game that severely hinder progress in this said video game. So this whole thing is a huge issue, and it brings to light the problem that I have in the whole video game journalism world, and that is publishers should not ever be pressuring journalistic outfits in changing their review scores or giving their games a certain score. And this is where I have a problem, and this is where our big topic of discussion is going to begin today on this video. Now, yes, sometimes reviewers, they have an opinion you might not like. Primary example I will give, and we're going to use Jeff Gerstmann from Giant Bomb again as a primary example. In 2015, everybody was waiting for Fallout 4 to come out. Fallout 4 was one of the biggest, if not the biggest game that came out in 2015. It was the most anticipated. People had been waiting for Fallout 4 for years. You know, this was a game that had monumental excitement surrounding it, and it came out, and for the most part, it got the reviews you expected. However, Jeff Gerstmann reviewed the game at Giant Bomb, and he gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And he explained his reasons why. And this kind of goes back to, I'll even use myself as an example in this situation, but Jeff Gerstmann gave this game a 3 out of 5 stars because he felt that after playing Skyrim and Oblivion and Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas previously, and reviewing those games over the years as they came out, that this series has issues with bugs, sometimes things are broken, and that this series shouldn't get a pass for those things anymore. I understood it. Did I care for the idea that he gave this game 3 out of 5 stars instead of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars? Maybe, maybe not. Like, you know, my thing is, I love Fallout 4. I think it's a great game, but I feel like it's more of just Fallout 3, but it looks prettier. However, that being said, I read and understood Jeff Gerstmann's review completely. He addresses the problems and the concerns he has with the game, and he's decided at this point, he's taking a stand and letting the consumer know that, hey, this is another Bethesda game that still has the same bugs and issues because they use the same old engine that they have been repurposing for their last several releases. I get it. I understand it. People got upset, obviously. People were getting pissed. People were, you know, emailing them death threats and that kind of stuff. This shit happens all the time, especially when it revolves around a popular game being released and the game doesn't get the reviews that the fans want it to get. And I'll use myself as an example here too. Recently, I reviewed Destiny 2 on this channel. I gave it a review score of a C+. I think that's an honestly perfectly good score for the game. That being said, I think it's a very middle of the road game and it has some mediocre elements to it. It reuses some assets from the original game. It's very noticeable, and I don't think, well, yes, they made some good changes from the original Destiny in that game. There are problems and issues I have with it that weren't addressed, and I felt that this was the time now, when we're on game 2, to address my concerns with that franchise so that going forward, maybe they'll put out something that's even better. I was also at the time kind of upset that I was seeing all these other reviews giving the games 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s, 5 out of 5s, and not addressing any of the problems with the game or shrugging those off by saying, yeah, it still has these problems we didn't like from Destiny 1, but it's Destiny and I really like it. That's an issue I have, and that's an issue I have with video game criticism, and I also have an issue with it in terms of giving games letter grades and review scores. But I am a fan of having some sort of grade, be it a letter, be it a star, be it a 1 out of 10, attached to a game. I don't necessarily like the idea of just writing a review and not having any kind of grade to it. So that's me personally. However, if there's one thing I respect about Kotaku, I respect that. I have a lot of disrespect for that website, but that's one thing I agree with there. That being said, in this whole thing, it's never okay for a publisher to reach out to a journalistic outfit and throw them under the bus or threaten to pull copies or any of this kind of bullshit because they gave the game a lower review score. At the end of the day, it's up to that critic's opinion and to their writing to decide, hey, did I like this game? Did I hate this game? I have to grade it for myself and let consumers know who read our website what I felt about the game. Do I think it's worth $60? Maybe I don't think it's worth $60, you know? And that's important. If you start breaking that trust with your consumers by changing review scores and taking reviews down and then re-putting them up and saying, sorry guys, you know, I gave it a 3 out of 10, but it's actually a 7 out of 10 now, sorry, like, that doesn't work. That's not acceptable. And I feel it's a really shitty idea here at this website, and I apologize. I've never heard of this website today. I'm trying not to throw them under the bus as much as it seems like I am, because I read the review there, and I highly encourage you to read this guy's review of NBA 2K18 because it's a good read and it makes sense. It's probably the most honest review I've seen of the game. I actually took time to read a couple other reviews of the game that do also mention the problems with virtual currency and microtransactions in this game. However, they kind of shrug it off. It's a similar situation to the Destiny 2 problem where people shrugged it off and still gave the game a higher than I feel it's worth score for that game considering what you're getting. So, in short, to close out this episode of Let's Rant About, this whole situation is ridiculous. I hate what they did. I hate the controversy around it. And we keep going back time after time after time on this topic. And I really just wish that more of these journalistic outfits would stick to their guns and leave the reviews the way they are and not take them down and not buckle to the wills of publishers because of the fear of, oh, they're going to pull our review copies. I don't feel it's ever okay for a publisher to contact a journalistic outfit and tell them to take down a review because they don't agree with the review score. That goes way beyond the boundaries of how this whole thing works. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.